So, I need to tell you something. Something I've been absolutely terrified to share. I've been putting this off for weeks, writing and rewriting this in my head, trying to find the courage. Last month, I successfully shifted. I did it. After all this time, all the practice, all the attempts, it finally happened. But I didn't end up in my desired reality. I didn't wake up in the Hogwarts common room or on the Starship Enterprise or in some idealized version of my life. I ended up somewhere else. Somewhere I never ever scripted. Somewhere that felt wrong. Deeply, fundamentally wrong. And what happened to me there? It changed everything I thought I knew about reality shifting. This isn't a success story. This is a cautionary tale. This is my story. And it's a warning. My name is Luna. And if you've been around my channel for a while, you know I'm your shifting guide. I'm the one who's always talking about the power of intention, the beauty of the journey, the unwavering belief that we can go anywhere we can imagine. I still believe that. But I also believe in something else now, something I never really gave much thought to before. The importance of the walls we build, the details we specify, the safeguards we put in place. Because the universe, or your subconscious, or the cosmic void, it listens. And if you're not excruciatingly clear about what you're asking for, it might just give you something you never wanted. I'd shifted before. Small shifts, brief visits. A day in my waiting room, an afternoon in a fictional world I loved. They were beautiful, affirming experiences. They were proof. They made me feel powerful, like I had tapped into a fundamental truth of existence. That confidence, that might have been my first mistake. I got comfortable. I started thinking I knew all the rules, that I had mastered the process. I started to treat my scripts like loose guidelines instead of the sacred, detailed blueprints they are meant to be. The night it happened, I was aiming for a very specific desired reality. A version of my life, but better. Not perfect, not fantastical, just improved. My career was where I wanted it to be. My relationships were healthier. I lived in a cute little cottage by the sea. I'd scripted the big things, of course. The job, the location, the feeling of contentment. But the little things? I figured my subconscious would fill in the blanks. I trusted the process a little too much. I was using the Raven method, which has always been my go-to. Lying in bed on my back, starfish position. Counting with affirmations every few numbers. I am shifting to my desired reality. I am in my desired reality. I remember feeling so calm, so sure. The symptoms came on as they usually do. The tingling in my limbs, that feeling of vibration like my body was a tuning fork being struck. The muffled sounds, the visual swirls behind my eyelids. It all felt so familiar, so comforting. This was the part one loved, the in-between space, the feeling of lifting off. I remember a thought floating through my mind right as I was crossing the threshold. I'm almost there. And then, nothing. The void. The blank space between destinations. The first thing I registered was smell. It was off. In my desired reality, I'd scripted that my cottage would always smell like sea salt, old books, and lavender from the garden. The smell was stale. It was like dust and old coffee grounds. My eyes were still closed, but my heart gave a little lurch. Something was wrong. I could feel it in my gut, a primal, sinking sensation. I took a deep breath and forced my eyes open. I was in a bedroom. It was my bedroom, but not. The layout was the same. The window was in the right place. But the walls were a dull gray instead of the soft blue I'd painted them. My duvet cover was a plain, dark gray instead of the floral pattern I loved. The room was messier than I ever keep it. Clothes were strewn over a chair, and there were mugs on the nightstand. Little details, right? Things you could explain away. Maybe my clone was just having a bad week. But the feeling was thick and heavy, like a weight on my chest. It was the feeling you get when you walk into a room and everyone stops talking. That sense of subtle wrongness. I sat up, my heart hammering against my ribs. Okay, Luna, I whispered to myself. Just breathe. Maybe the script is just interpreting things differently. Maybe this is a test. I swung my legs out of bed and my feet hit a cold hardwood floor. I'd scripted a soft wool rug, another tiny pinprick of fear. I stood up and walked to the window, pulling back the plain gray curtains. I expected to see the ocean, the rolling waves, the seagulls wheeling in the sky. There was no ocean. There was a parking lot. A vast, concrete parking lot, mostly empty under a flat, gray sky. No sun, just a uniform, oppressive blanket of cloud. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't right. This was so far from right. My script was very, very clear about the ocean. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. This wasn't my desired reality. A horrible, sinking thought began to form. Had I failed? Was I just lucid dreaming? I'd been through this before, the doubt, the confusion. I needed to test it. I looked at my hands. They looked like my hands. I counted my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the other. 10 fingers. I looked at a digital clock on the bedside table. The numbers were clear, stable. 8:17 a.m. I tried to change the time with my mind. Nothing. I tried to push my finger through my palm. It was solid, unyielding. This felt real. It felt more solid in a way than my successful shifts had. Those had a certain shimmer to them. A dreamlike quality. This felt gritty, mundane, horribly, terrifyingly permanent. I left the bedroom and walked into the hallway. The photos on the wall were of me, but with people I didn't recognize. A group of women smiling, their arms around me. A man I'd never seen before. I looked happy in the photos, but staring at them now sent a chill down my spine. Who were these people? My script had specified that my close friends and family from my CR would be there, just enhanced. These were strangers. I made my way to the kitchen. It was the same layout, but dirtier. Dishes were piled in the sink. The air still had that stale, dusty smell. On the counter was a half-empty coffee pot. I opened the fridge. It was mostly bare, with a few takeout containers and some wilted vegetables. This wasn't the life of a successful, content version of me. This felt lonely and neglected. That's when I heard a key in the front door. My blood ran cold. I wasn't supposed to have roommates. I'd scripted living alone. The door opened and a man walked in. He was tall, with a kind enough face, but I had never seen him before in my life. He looked at me and smiled. "Hey, you're up early. I thought you'd still be in bed." I just stared at him, my mouth slightly angry. I couldn't form words. He was acting like he knew me, like he lived here, with me. He frowned, dropping his keys on a small table by the door. "You okay, Lou? You look like you've seen a ghost." He called me Lou, a nickname no one uses for me. My mind was racing, a frantic, terrified hum. This was wrong. This was so wrong. I wasn't in my desired reality, and I wasn't in my current reality either. I was somewhere in between, somewhere else. A reality I had never intended to create, but had somehow stumbled into. The uncanny valley feeling was overwhelming. Everything was almost right, but the parts that were wrong were screaming at me, setting off every internal alarm I had. I managed to stammer something out. I'm fine. Just tired." He nodded, heading to the kitchen and pouring himself a coffee. "Yeah, you were up late working on that project. Want me to make you some eggs?" I just shook my head, my throat too tight to speak. He was being nice. He was being kind. And that made it so much worse. If he had been a monster, it would have been clear, understandable. But this was a horror of familiarity where there should be none. I was living a life with a stranger who thought he was my partner. I spent the rest of that day in a state of quiet, mounting panic. I tried to act normal, following his lead, trying to piece together what this life was. From the snippets of conversation, I gathered that I, or rather this version of me, worked from home as a freelance graphic designer, a job I do have in my CR, but it was clearly not going well here. This version of me was stressed, behind on deadlines. The man's name was Mark. He worked in IT. They had been together for 3 years. 3 years. I felt like I was going to be sick. I was an imposter in my own life. a ghost haunting my own body. Every time Mark looked at me with affection, every time he referenced a shared memory I didn't have, it was like a little stab. Have you ever had a dream where you're in a familiar place, but everything is slightly distorted? And the deeper you go, the more the distortion twists, until you're running through a nightmare? This was that, but I was wide awake. I was lucid in the nightmare. The worst part was the silence. In my desired reality, I'd scripted the sound of the waves, the chatter of birds. Here, the world outside was quiet. No birds, no distant traffic, just a profound, unsettling silence, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator or the click of Mark's keyboard from the other room. It was a dead world, a hollow world. I tried to access my script. I closed my eyes and thought, safe word, I want to go home. Nothing. I repeated my shifting affirmations. I am shifting back to my current reality. I am in my current reality. I felt nothing. No vibrations, no symptoms, no pull. It was like shouting into a soundproof room. The walls of this reality felt thick, impenetrable. The fear that had been simmering in my chest all day erupted into full-blown terror. What if I couldn't get back? What if I was stuck here in this gray, lonely existence, with a stranger who loved a version of me that didn't exist? The thought was suffocating. As the day wore on, the wrongness began to manifest in even smaller, more insidious ways. The light from the windows was flat and colorless, no matter the time of day. Food tasted bland like cardboard. When I tried to read a book from the shelf, the words seemed to swim on the page, refusing to form coherent sentences for more than a paragraph at a time. It was as if this reality itself was low on processing power, unable to render the fine details. It was a cheap copy, a bootleg reality. That night, I lay in bed next to Mark, rigid with fear, pretending to be asleep. I could feel the warmth of his body, hear his steady breathing. It was all so normal, so domestic, and it was the most terrifying thing I had ever experienced, because it wasn't mine. I had never felt so alone, so utterly disconnected from everything I knew and loved. I cried, silent tears soaking into the pillow. I was trapped. I had been so eager to leave my own reality, so confident in my ability to jump to a better one, that I had leaped without looking and landed in a prison of my own making. What would you have done? In that moment, lying there in the dark, feeling the weight of a life you never wanted? Would you have given up? Would you have tried to make a life there? I almost did. The despair was so heavy, it felt easier to just surrender, to let this version of me take over. Maybe she was happier than I was. Maybe this was a lesson in contentment. But then I thought of my real life, my messy, imperfect current reality, my family, my friends, my cat, the sun, the taste of real food, the feeling of genuine connection. I wanted to go home, not to a better version, but to my version. The longing was a physical ache, and that ache, that pure, desperate homesickness, became my fuel. I stopped trying to use the formal methods. They weren't working here. This reality seemed to block them like a firewall. Instead, I leaned into the feeling. I curled into a ball under the covers and I let myself feel it all. The terror, the loneliness, the regret, and beneath it all, the fierce, burning love for my own original life. I didn't repeat affirmations. I didn't count. I just prayed. Not to a god, but to the universe, to my own consciousness, to whatever thread connected me to my home. I whispered it over and over, not as a command, but as a plea. I want to go home. Please let me go home. I recognize this isn't my home. I reject this reality. I choose my home. I focused on the sensory details of my CR. The feel of my own real bed sheets. The specific way the streetlight outside my window cast a pattern on the wall. The sound of my cat meowing for breakfast. I didn't just think about them. I tried to feel them, to smell them, to hear them as if they were already real. And then I felt it. The tiniest flicker. A faint, distant vibration like a phone on silent in another room. It was so weak, so fragile, I almost missed it. But it was there. A crack in the wall. I grabbed onto that feeling with every ounce of my will. I poured all of my homesickness, all of my love for my real life, into that single vibrating thread. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. The sensations began to intensify, but they were different this time. They weren't the comfortable, familiar symptoms of a controlled shift. This was violent. It was a tearing sensation, a feeling of being ripped from a socket. The gray room started to dissolve, not fade, but pixelate like a bad digital signal. The last thing I heard was Mark's sleepy voice from beside me. "Lou, you okay?" And then static, a deafening roar. And nothing. I gasped, my eyes flying open. I was lying on my back in my own bed. The soft blue walls, the floral duvet, the morning sun streaming through my window, casting familiar, warm patterns on the floor. The sound of birds, the smell of, well, my room, which is usually pretty clean. I sat up, sobbing, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. I was home. I was really, truly home. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, my real nightstand, and the date was correct. The time was correct. I stumbled out of bed and ran to the window. There was my street, my tree, my world. I have never, ever felt such profound, overwhelming relief in my entire life. So what did I learn? Why did this happen? I've spent weeks turning it over in my mind, and I think I understand my mistakes. My intention was strong, but it was general. A better life. The universe has a very abstract idea of what better means. My script was vague on the details, the safeguards. I didn't include a clause that said, if this reality does not match my script exactly, I will immediately return to my CR. I didn't specify the small, sensory details with enough force. I assumed my subconscious would fill in the blanks with pleasant things. But our subconscious is also home to our fears, our anxieties, our doubts. I think, in my confidence, I left a door open, and my own fear of failure, my own hidden worries about loneliness and stagnation, walked right through it and built me a prison. I learned that shifting isn't just about wanting to be somewhere else. It's about knowing with absolute, unwavering clarity exactly where you are going. It's about building your destination with such specific detail that there is no room for error, no room for interpretation. Your script is your contract. It is your passport. It is your anchor. Don't treat it like a casual wish list. Treat it like the most important document you will ever write. I also learned the power of love. Not just intention, but genuine, heartfelt love for where you come from. It was my love for my current reality, my true home, that ultimately pulled me back. It was the anchor I didn't know I had. Shifting isn't about escaping, or at least it shouldn't be. It should be about exploring from a place of wholeness and love for your own existence. If you're trying to shift because you hate your life, you might just find a reality that reflects that hatred back at you in a different way. This experience terrified me. It humbled me. It shook me to my core. I took a break from shifting after that. I needed to reconnect with this world, to appreciate the beautiful, messy, real life I have. And you know what? I do appreciate it more now. The simple joy of a sunny day, the comfort of a friend's laugh, the taste of a good meal. These things are not small. They are everything. I'm not telling you this to scare you away from shifting. The ability to shift is still a profound and beautiful gift. But I am begging you from the bottom of my heart to approach it with respect, with caution, to be specific, to be clear, to script your safeguards, to build your desired reality with love and precision. Don't make my mistakes. Your mind is a powerful creator. You can build heavens with it. But without clear blueprints, you might just accidentally build a cage. The multiverse is vast and full of wonders, but it is also neutral. It will give you what you ask for, so you have to be very, very careful what you wish for. Shift safely. Script everything. And never, ever forget the love you have for the home you come from. Because that love, that might just be the most powerful shifting method of all.